and we'll just call this not my first trauma rodeo part 2, because everything seems to have a tinge of the traumatic this week. I don't know about you, but I was just starting to celebrate with you how wonderful it is to not be breathing in acrid smoke and to not have my eyes streaming, irritated and tearing all the time, to be celebrating rain last night. I walked over to my hypnotherapist's home for my session with her, and I got rained on, and I've never been so happy to be umbrella-less in the rain as I was yesterday. And it rained good and hard last night, and it felt so wonderful. So I guess it's the good news and the bad news that this is not my first trauma rodeo. If you've been on this planet for a few decades and have weathered a few ups and downs and changes and challenges in your life, then you get seasoned. You get to know what your particular brand of sea legs feel like, what it feels like when you are rolling with the punches and weathering the storm and dealing with the fires and the destruction and the possibility of being evacuated. I did not have to evacuate, which is really good, because my trauma showed up in a way that I couldn't even pack a go bag. When the suggestion came that you do that, I looked around me, and in my wildly downsized state, when I moved a little over 6 months ago, I downsized hard, and I looked around me with the idea of, okay, what do I save? And it was like, well, really, I need everything. I need everything. So luckily, I was far enough removed from the closest evacuations, like by 12 or 15 miles, that I was able to deal with that. Had the evacuation come closer, I would have gotten over it and gotten over my resistance and packed a bag of my essentials. I would have, I'm sure, and I trust that. But wow, I have had a week where my energy's been kind of low, and my sense of danger and feeling like I have to do something to solve these problems and raise my mood back up. And it just reminded me of the old days of thinking I have to muscle through and force circumstances to change so I can be okay. But because I've been really immersed in this awareness that I am much more useful and productive and happy and grounded and content when I know that my peace of mind and my productivity and my ability to be useful come from the inside, and they're not dependent on circumstances. When I know that, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's happening outside of me and around me. But I got to see this week how quickly I forget, how easy it becomes for me to just be so shaken by reality and circumstance and uncertainty. So I went back to the sources of wisdom that have really been important and useful to me over the last couple of years. And because it's been, I've been gentle with myself this week. I am once again feeling the need for more naps. It's kind of like I muscled through those first 10 days of the fire, the first 10 days of no containment and massive evacuations and too much death and destruction and missing people are still, dozens of people are still missing, and dozens of people have died, and so many buildings and homes are gone, and so many displaced. And I I muscled through that time kind of like the good soldier that I am. And then when the air started to clear and the fires began to be contained and people began to be able to go home, I kind of crashed. Like my energies just kind of crashed, and the last 3 days have been naps in the middle of the day days, and being able to be grateful for letting myself allow that, for allowing that in, and being gentle enough with myself that I could do it, has been really wonderful for me, and healing and delicious. And I've been going through, the fires weren't the only circumstances that have shaken me up this week. That beautiful love affair I got to have over the last couple of months has run its course, and that didn't go the way I would have had it go. So that was interesting. I went back to some of the quotes that I just want to share these with you because they're so incredibly powerful and useful for me. The first one is that the only trick in life is to be grateful for your highs and graceful with your lows. Because the lows, I mean, it's not that now that I am aware that I can live my life from the inside out, doesn't mean that I don't have lows anymore. Shit happens. Relationships end. Mother Nature shimmies her shoulders and shakes her skirts at us and has been on a rampage of shimmying her shoulders and shaking her skirts all over planet Earth and uncomfortably close to me in the last couple of weeks. So it's not about finding the right formula of practices and ways of living and ways of eating and ways of being that will guarantee that I only have things that I'm wildly grateful for going on in my life. In fact, that's not the case. In fact, shit still happens. The water still gets muddy. And I can't remember where this one comes from, but it's when you're standing in the muddy water, if you just stop kicking your feet around so much, eventually the mud is going to settle and the water will clear. And you'll be able to see the beautiful stones at the bottom of the water and your feet right below you if you just stop kicking around and raising more mud. I've been in some mud this week. I've been in some taking my circumstances really seriously places. I've been in some pain around that and feeling like if there must be something I could do to get it right. And I have been less than graceful with my lows until the last couple of days when I just kind of remembered what that grace could feel like. And that grace can feel like a nap. That grace can feel like doing something really gentle for myself, or doing something that I really want to do even though it feels particularly hard at this moment. And that was a quote from a man named George Pransky, and it's quoted in the book called The Inside Out Revolution by Michael Neal. Book I highly recommend. And then I went back to Mara Gleason's book, One Thought Changes Everything, which is a great introduction to the 3 principles of mind, consciousness, and thought if you want to learn more. And she says if you don't believe in it, invest in it, or do something else to keep it alive, all thought will eventually fade, will naturally fade. So that's me with the napalm again, right? I've talked about napalm. It's like if I can just stop myself from pouring gasoline or napalm on the glowing embers of my upsetting thoughts, then they don't have to become a conflagration. They don't have to become a conflagration, a wildfire, to use a frequent expression around here these days. So big that I cannot remember that I even have feet under me, let alone to look down and wait for the mud to settle. I am mixing all the metaphors today. I know that I've titled this video, "This is not my first trauma rodeo," and I know wildfires have nothing to do with rodeos, but it's just what came to me, so I'm sticking with it. It has a kind of a ring to it. Mara also says on that same page, I think, in One Thought Changes Everything, she says, mind, that intelligence that runs my system, your system, all our systems, will naturally bring in new thinking when there's space for it. So again, if I let those coals die down, if I don't grab the napalm or the gas can, and I don't create the conflagration, then space can open for what I call grace, for the grace of a inspired thought, for the grace of a calm thought, for the grace of self-love and self-compassion to return. And then I picked up one more book today, Jamie Smart's Little Book of Clarity. And he says, life has its ups and downs, and no one gets through it without their share of challenges. That's what resilience is all about, right? That we learn that we can get through challenges. Seeing the inside-out nature of reality and living from a clearer and more profound felt experience of life won't stop that. It won't stop the challenges from happening. Not as long as we're breathing. But what happens is that we get, one, the resilience to know we can deal with whatever comes our way, or at least the ability to return to that memory of resilience. And two, the wisdom and the clarity and the creativity to make a difference in our own lives and the lives of others. It turns out that life is less about what happens to you and way, way more about how you relate to it. It's not about the forest fire. The wildfires, the forest fires, the everything fires. It's not about the breakup. It's not about not getting my way. It's not about uncertainty and whether the new Reclaim Your Resilience course is going to go or fill. It's about rolling with it. It's about showing up for the challenges and the obstacles and the precipices and the frickin' dark nights of the soul. A couple of nights last week I went to bed not knowing if I'd wake up. Where is this fire? Where is it going? Is it coming here? Am I safe? Those are great things to be thinking about when you get in bed at night. No, it wasn't fun. It was really, really, really hard. And I think that I muscled through it with more grit than with grace. But the grace was always there. Foundationally, the grace is always there. The reminder that I don't have to solve it, I don't have to think my way through it, I don't have to force my way through it, is always present. And when I can just settle down and wait for the mud to settle around my feet without kicking it up and making it much more murky and much thicker and much guckier, all is well. So I think that's it for today, except to say, please check out Reclaim Your Resilience. I'll put the link in the first comment or in the description, or both. And I hope you join us. We have our first couple of registrations, and so it looks like we're going to go. And I'm very excited about creating a community for women so that we can hold space for each other, so that we can hear each other, and most importantly, on an ongoing way, mirror back to each other just how much we are like that famous Eleanor Roosevelt quote about a woman is like a tea bag. You can never see just how strong it is until you dip it in hot water. And even if you're feeling like a wrung out tea bag with no more tea, all the tea's been sucked out of it, there's more where that came from. There's more where that came from. I know it because I know, look at how much I've survived. This is not my first trauma rodeo. I'm a cult survivor. I'm a rape survivor. I'm another Me Too woman. I am a survivor of abuse in my family of origin. I was raised, I think, by wolves. I survived a lot. I have survived my own self-destructiveness. I've survived my own headlong racing through life, heedless of my safety and that of others. I've survived and landed in so much grace and so much peace and so much power, just the power of knowing that I have something useful to bring and to give and to share in the world. That's huge. And you know what, sister, you've got it too. I'm really, really, really grateful. I'm really grateful for the high I feel every time we connect, and that you put up with me while I'm finding the grace to get through my lows. All right. Blessed be. Have a great, peaceful, calm, settled weekend of clarity and fun, and whatever it is that your heart's desire is, go for it. Blessed be.